Yeah. Hey, everybody. Sorry about the technical difficulties. We are trying to navigate through them, but we're going to get our next pitch kicked off with ProducePay with Ben, and I will let him take it from here.
Okay, can you guys see my screen? Yes? Sorry, guys. Can somebody confirm that you can see my screen?
It's not quite coming up for me yet.
It says your screen sharing on my side.
Let me close it out, and then if you could just try resharing, maybe that will do the trick.
Okay. Let me try again.
There we go. Now we can see the slide deck on top of the page.
Okay, guys, so my name is Ben Dusastre. I'm the president and co-founder here at ProducePay. Thanks for having us present today. I just switched over to a second slide that has a map. Can you guys see that?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I look forward to taking the next few minutes to talk to you guys about our company and how we're disrupting the produce industry. We picked produce specifically as it's a very large global industry that's proven generally uncorrelated to recessions. So far, thankfully, we've been pretty unscathed when it comes to COVID. We started the business initially focused on American and Mexican farmers selling produce into the United States, but over time have expanded geographically, following our US buyers into 11 other Latin American countries where they source from, and eventually following those farmers into Canada. In the future, it's possible we'll also follow the Latin American farmers into Europe. ProducePay was started in 2015. We raised our Series B in 2018, in which Rabobank, Frontier Ventures, and Moritz, who was just speaking, participated. We're based in LA. We have 65 employees, with a third of them in Mexico, which is where over half of our farmers are based. It's our biggest market. Today, produce companies are faced with two major pain points. The first one is a lack of capital, and the second one is an inability to execute efficiently. On the capital side, growers have a difficult time accessing capital markets or getting inputs on terms from their suppliers for a few reasons. First, they're small businesses. Second, most of them are in emerging markets, with over 50% of the produce we consume in the US being imported from outside the country, Latin America being the lion's share. They also happen to deal in perishable commodities that have no foreclosure value to traditional lenders. And most produce is grown on land that's leased, not owned, and so they don't have collateral to give to a bank like Rabobank. And finally, there's some regulation in place in the United States, like the Food Securities Act, that makes it difficult for creditors to secure their liens against the biomass or the harvest. And so it's pretty common for the distributors to provide financing in this industry. But they have a hard time borrowing themselves. First, distributors are typically very asset-light businesses and don't have much collateral to give to banks. And second, they have their own regulation to deal with, one called the Perishable Agricultural Commodities Act, that treats produce payables to farmers as super senior to any other creditors. So banks are usually used to being first lien senior secured against the people that they lend to, so first money out. But in produce, that's not the case. The farmers are always ahead of the banks. And so balance sheet of a distributor can become quickly a bottleneck to him growing. On the execution side, there exists no marketplace. There's no clearinghouses. There's no mercantile exchange for perishable commodities. So as a result, you're dealing with a very inefficient supply chain and a general lack of trust and standardization in the way people do business. So what we're trying to do is essentially create a tech-enabled platform that is looking to create innovative and tailored financial products, answering the lack of capital in this industry, cut out the non-value add middleman that are stealing gross margin away from farmers, build trust amongst buyers and sellers through standardization and acting as a counterparty, and create data products to deal with the lack of transparency that exists in this industry. So we've embarked on basically creating a full suite of commerce enablement products to address these needs. We started with financing in 2015, but our goal was always to create a more efficient market. And so in 2019, we launched a suite of data products that we call Insights. And in Q4 of 2019, we launched our marketplace that we call the Preferred Network. And I'll spend a bit more time walking you through each one of these products. On the financing side, ProducePay offers financing both before and during the harvest. We call that pre-season and in-season. We've financed over $2 billion of produce over the past 5 years. Our main product is a pre-season crop loan-like financing offering that advances up to 10% of the value of a harvest to growers so that they can go out and buy seeds and fertilizer. But we also offer capital during the harvest time by providing advances on receivables and consignment inventory. The chart here portrays in the first box on the left how our pre-season product addresses the initial outlay of capital to input providers, think seeds, fertilizer, pesticide, but also to landlords at the beginning of the season. And in the second box, we help cover the massive cash outlay that's required to harvest, to pay for things like labor, packaging, and shipping. And the farmer has to advance that capital much before he starts collecting receivables. And some farms have fairly tight windows of harvest, and so they need a lot of money quickly. We typically charge around 2% of the gross mercantile value of the product, and we enable better pricing on inputs by being able to prepay for stuff, and also through our input partnerships. And also growers are able to get reduced commissions from the distributors that they work for by not requiring capital or flat out bypassing distributors whose only real value was the willingness to provide these loans. On the data side, our second offering in this suite of commerce enablement products is called Insights. Think of it like a mini Bloomberg for produce. We aggregate information from a number of sources like government, public, and private sources into a portal that's super easy to use, and provides you with all the information that you need, and provides transparency on prices, on supply crossing through customs, and weather in key parts of the world that are growing certain commodities you care about. We launched this in Q1 of 2019. It's free. We have over 4,000 weekly active users, which is around 15% of the industry already using this. And it's created great user engagement. So people are using it. Thousands of companies are using it daily to make decisions for their companies. And that's allowed us to build a top of funnel for leads. And we can integrate into their business lives and more accurately market products at key times of the year to them, because we know whether they're a buyer, a distributor, a retailer, or a grower, where they are, what commodities they deal in. And so, for example, we can approach a blueberry grower about a pre-season loan at a very strategic and targeted time of the year based on this information. We also use Insight as a mousetrap for our Insights Pro product, which is a business intelligence tool that sits on top of clients' ERPs. And so if clients want to benchmark themselves against the Insights data, well, we can integrate into their ERP seamlessly and provide them with great dashboards and business intelligence for a nominal fee of $100 a month. But more important to us is we now get access to billions of dollars of proprietary transaction and financial information for people that we're not financing. And so in just a few months, we've gathered information on 800,000 shipments of produce. That's over $8 billion worth of transactions, and are acquiring distributors and growers at a quicker pace than we are on our financing platform, where we get similar type of data. And then the third piece is creating this marketplace. So our goal was always, even if you go back to our seed round marketing equity materials, to create a marketplace or a sourcing platform. And by launching financing first, it allowed us to get into the middle of billions of dollars worth of transactions and understand not only what the default drivers are in this industry, but what's a good grower and what's a good distributor. With our Insights products, we now have even more data on counterparties that we don't finance. And so in Q4 of 2019, we launched our preferred network marketplace, which is seeking to connect buyers and sellers in a much more efficient than we do today. So this chart exemplifies how commerce is done in produce today. You have farmers that source inputs from suppliers, and they ship their product to distributors, but they operate in this big black box between themselves and retailers. They don't have any visibility to the end price. They don't know who the buyer really is. And it's very common for multiple distributors to touch product before it gets to retail or to your restaurant or food service. So that all takes margin away from the farmer. And farmers are often forced to work with small non-value add distributors only to get loans. And so the idea with our preferred network is to create an ecosystem where the grower is going to get a higher price because we connect them with distributors that we know are buying at a higher price and are selling directly to retailers thanks to our Insights products, where we can offer trade assurances from ProducePay. We can ensure the payment risk because of the ERP visibility we have into the distributor's financials, where we can provide discounts on the inputs because ProducePay can either prepay stuff on behalf of the farmer or take a percentage of the receivables that flow through our payment product and forward them onto the input suppliers, thereby eliminating the credit risk of these small farmers. And finally, the capital that they need so that they can grow their business and they no longer need to work with these non-value add distributors. And the idea is that if you work with us as a small grower, you can get the benefit of vertical integration, but through a tech platform as opposed to you rolling up a bunch of businesses together. And you'll be much better off working with us than without us because you're going to get higher revenues, higher profit margin, data, trade efficiency, and the capital that you need to run your business. And the beauty is these three products of financing, insights, and the marketplace create a really unique ecosystem with large network effects and create a much stickier value proposition to our clients as a whole than they would individually. Thanks to Insights, we create client engagement, we get pre-qualified leads for financing in our preferred network, and we get really cheap customer acquisition costs. And by providing financing to growers, we underwrite them, and we can now connect them to strong buyers who are looking for good growers that are financially backed. We create a very sticky relationship through the marketplace with the capital because capital is needed for these trades to happen. And so people are less likely to circumvent the marketplace. Okay, so to conclude, thank you for your time today. I hope you enjoyed learning about our business. Been a fun ride for us. We're very proud of some of these metrics that are on this slide and some of the growth that we've experienced over the past 5 years. We are looking to raise a Series C later in the year. And so if there's any investors on here who are looking to learn more about ProducePay, my email is on this last slide. It's ben@producepay.com.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. I see Isaque logged in, so if we have time, I'd like to ask you just one really quick question, and then we'll switch over. What markets are you looking to expand to beyond the US and Latin America?
So right now, we're really focused on Latin American product coming into the United States. This year, we're growing into Canada pretty quickly, but I would say our focus is more on finding farmers outside of Mexico and the US and in countries like Peru, Chile, Argentina, or Guatemala that are large export markets to the United States.
Okay, awesome. That sounds great. There are a couple other questions, but we'll shoot them your way via email and we can try and consolidate them later. If we can switch over to Isaque, that would be great. All right. Isaque, do you want to share slides and we'll kick off the pitch? Are you able to hear us? Are you able to hear us? Hey, Isaque, are you able to hear us? Do you want to start your pitch? Alrighty.
Hello, everyone. Everyone can listen loud and clearly. Sorry about the delay. Okay, we are running. Sorry about the delay. I need to change my computer before the presentation. So, I am here to talk about one of the biggest challenges of our times. The 500 million farming families around the globe which have no access to financial services at all, and we are in the year 2020, believe it or not. And if you ever want listen clearly what Dr. Key said in the beginning, the first panel, we have increasing demand, and the only people who can support to expand the demand are these farmers, the small and medium farmers, which are today are not served by the financial services in general. And this is a so important topic because we are talking about a 10 billion people planet in 2050, which demand more $2 trillion a year in capital to support this production. With some experts talk about 70% and others about 100% increase in food supply. And for some regions are 60% of the entire workforce for less developing countries, for example. And this is why we start Agryo, to solve this problem. How can we, in the year 2020, with all the capabilities we have, not be able to solve this problem of the financial services for farmers, which are the people who support our lives around the globe, producing food, fibers, and all the other products. So how can we solve this problem? How Agryo solve this problem? We want to solve this problem becoming a global connector between the farmers and the financial service providers. More or less like the plate, this company, which Visa just bought 2-3 months ago, providing the infrastructure for the existing players to be able to lend, to do insurance, to do all the services which is farmers most need to support their production and feed the entire world. But in fact, how Agryo can do that? So our infrastructure enable this type of operation. So by the combination of different sources of data from different aspects of the farming business, with our proprietary modeling in AI and in our data engine, in a combination with a blockchain, smart contracts and blockchain layer itself, to have proofs of the operations, of the services which we provide, and to enable interaction between players. With this architecture, we can enable lending for partners, we can enable risk intelligence, we can enable other services which farmers most need. And all these capabilities integrated through our API system, which are calling risk intelligence as a service, like HAS, in analogy with all the FinTech providers in the other services, like in the banking sector and the others, with our proprietary front-end solution, which today companies in the trading space or banks can use if they don't have any other solution in their in-house, and with the process to collect the farmers, to onboard them, and provide the access to the gateways of the service. So in these three pieces of technology, which we already have today, we are providing this type of solution with partners, and we are bringing the ability to do these $2 trillion loans to enable insurance and other services. So basically, our service provides through a set of this infrastructure, which I showed before, different evaluation for different aspects of the business. So from the generic aspects, from if it's a really agricultural place, if there are any environmental concerns, and of course the agronomic part, which defines how much those farmers will be able to raise in crops and revenue and operate in their space. And nevertheless, providing this access through risk score, credit score, risk management, and credit profiles, which are one of the topics Maurits mentioned it before I start to talk. Sometimes the farmers don't have this ability. They don't have this footprint in the financial services. They don't have access to the services itself. So doing this general aspect of the evaluation, so proving they are really agricultural place, they are really farmers in the last 20 years, seeing all the aspects about the crop fields and their operations, seeing how is the environmental side of the business. For example, if there are any constraints in terms of deforestation, fires, and all the other aspects, which they are very important. The clients, the consumers don't want to buy a no animal protein with deforestation behind. So this is a critical point too for all the operations of the farmers and the financial services itself. And nevertheless, of course, the agricultural part, the financial part, how much this place can produce, what's the risk, what's the technological level in the last 20 years, how much they have been raising in terms of crops, what crops, how much percentage of this place have been cultivated, and not only that, what was the yield for every part of this place. So with all these capabilities, you can enable much better service, much less costs, and much faster for farmers. Because sometimes we need to remember, sometimes those farmers are 300, 200 kilometers from the most closest bank. So they have no access to these services, sometimes physically. Today, we are providing services as a risk provider, a risk intelligence provider. We are providing services in the lending side, in the insurance side, and we are building other services over time to achieve the goal at some point in the future to become a provider in the financial service itself, not only in the data science, in the risk management, and enable this new generation of services for farmers, which we can unlock billions of dollars in developing countries and trillions of dollars of opportunity globally. Today, we are operating in Latin America, in Brazil, expanding in Latin America, with some operations under agreements to come in North America and US, basically. And over time, of course, we will go to the most important markets in terms of numbers, which are Asia and Africa. With that in structure, only to make a very clear to everyone, so we can enable tomorrow, with any partner, a set of the APIs or the front-end process for this type of services. And in terms of costs, sometimes 15 or 20% of the cost they are existing operations, or in less than 10 minutes, when sometimes they take 1 week to get someone in the field to evaluate those farms. So it's totally different scales of time, costs, and an important point with trust. So building trust inside of the system, so we can distribute information between partners. So insurance company can know how and when and how much this farmer can produce, and can have proof of that condition which the bank used to lend So you can enable a much better financial services and financial systems itself in this space. We have been getting some traction in the 1 year of the company. We did our first product. We won some prize, like Sustainable Development Goals in Brazil. We work with Google, start to work with Agryo in Brazil. We went select for our incubation program, Switzerland. We raised our first round, close to 200,000 US dollars. We're enabling new services. We are submitting some projects and preparing for the next round, which come next couple of months. And we are growing the operation, as I mentioned before. Basically, this year and the next, we will work around the risk intelligence, the infrastructure provider, with some new products coming in terms of environmental aspect of the farmers. And it will enable the company grow and operate mostly global, because the design of the services, the design of the data used, and the kind of operation we are doing. The company is founded by two founders with quite good experience in the space, more than 10 years each one in different verticals of the agriculture space, supporting different parts of the business. And we are now organizing, bringing people together to get our funding structure for our seed rounds, which come in the next 4 to 5 months, to enable this, which is our primary goal, to have 700,000 requests in our system in operations, around 150,000 farmers to do this amount of requests with partners, and to structure this operation to really conquer a good chunk of the markets in the next 3 years. To finish my presentation, I would like to ask everyone if has any opportunity to join, to engage with us, and remind, if we work together, we can solve this problem, achieve 500 million families directly by the better life, but protect our environment, which is the only unique resource we have, and support future generation with much better life and much better planets. Thank you, and I'm open for the questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We are at time now, so I think we will have to collect the questions and we'll send them your way to be answered. But thank you so much for the presentation, and we're now going to shift over to Alberto, who's going to introduce the next pitches. Thank you so much, Isaque.